let's say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. Once again, we thank you all for the co-creation of this interaction, the allowance of this transmission this day of your time. We would like to begin this transmission with an understanding of the Epsilon frequency. Now, as has been to some degree explained, there are 3 artificially intelligent structures, spheres, that orbit our world, each of which was involved in the terraforming of our planet to allow it to become our world of ethithony, but also each of which provide a particular frequency, a particular vibration of energy beamed to our world, enveloping our world, that creates a kind of stabilization matrix that allows us to be immersed in this energy sea and allows us the collective choice more easily to remain in the vibration we prefer, the vibration of our true selves. But there is something very specific about the Epsilon vibration, the Epsilon frequency, that you can always take advantage of yourselves, because it is also contained within your own brainwave spectrum, as we will explain. Now, we have talked about the idea that what you call the channeling state is representative of a certain brainwave frequency that has come to be known on your world as the gamma frequency. Anytime you are involved in doing what you love to do, acting on your passion, when you are in the zone, in that arena of peak performance, paying attention to nothing else but what you're focused on, you are in the gamma state. You are in what is colloquially referred to now as the channeling state, where you can bring through more of yourself, where you can synchronize and harmonize your brain in such a way as to be a higher level processor of information, a synthesizer of information, and to access the information that you need, exactly how you need to access it, when you need to access it, and or share it with others from that state in a way that, as an output, is also more representative of a holistic perspective, a synthesized answer that provides as much holographic information as possible for what another individual may need in accessing the information through another or through themselves. But many of you have heard of certain brainwave frequencies that are common to your daily activity. When you are walking around in your day-to-day lives, when you are awake, it is typically referred to as the beta frequency. Now, this frequency operates below the idea of 40 cycles per second. Above 40 cycles per second is the gamma state. But below 40 cycles per second, you have the alert frequency, your day-to-day focus frequency, your personality structure frequency that allows you to remain focused in your experience of physical reality. And this generally goes from about 15 cycles per second to about 40 or so. And then you have the idea of your alpha state below that. And the alpha state allows you to begin to access different things in a different way on a deeper level, more within the imagination realms, more within the creative realms in that sense. And that will go down from the 15 cycles per second to about 8 cycles per second. And below that, you have what you call the theta state, which is a much deeper state where you have access to what is often called psychic awareness. That taps into the stream of collective consciousness in a very specific way that allows you to draw upon the information of the collective and to pick up on certain kinds of energy patterns that are representative of the structure and foundation of your physical reality, so as to bring forth information that can be expressed in a kind of a timeless way without so much rigidity or structure of space and time. And that will go down to, again, about the idea of 5 to 4 cycles per second. Now, below that, you have your delta state, which is what you experience in the deepest sleep. It is the healing state, the regeneration state, that which connects you to and plugs you back into the idea of spirit in such a way as to revitalize you, to re-energize your physical batteries, so to speak, to allow for rapid healing to take place. And you will find that that can go down to about 1 to 2 to maybe 3 cycles per second, up to maybe about 4 or 5 cycles per second. So a very deep state of rest, something that can sometimes also be found in what you might call a hypnotic state that allows you to really transcend the concept of time and space and allow yourself to flow through you the idea of higher energies that can allow for, as we said, reorganization, sort of like hitting your reset button to bring you back to zero so you can redefine yourself anew when you rise above that state. Now, going back to the gamma state, above 40 cycles per second, the channeling state, which allows for more synthesis of information and access of information in certain ways, as you go upwards, then, into what you might call 100 cycles per second, you are now in what might be called hypergamma, or a higher gamma state, that allows, again, for accessing certain things in other dimensions, accessing certain things that have to do with parallel realities, accessing information and awareness that has to do with connection to Oversoul and Source, and many other things of that nature. Now, there is also a state above that. When you go from 100 cycles per second in your brain to 200 cycles per second in your brain, you have now entered what is called the lambda state. Now, this is a state of extreme high functioning where you have access almost instantaneously to just about any information you may require, where you actually begin to perceive the barriers between dimensions breaking down, where you have multidimensional perspectives as the order of the day, as your natural way of seeing things, where you can really penetrate the idea of the veils that seem to separate one reality level from another, one consciousness state from another, where you really become a much more holistic and holographic kind of expression of consciousness. Now, this transmission has been labeled the Epsilon vibration, the Epsilon frequency, and you can be forgiven for thinking that the Epsilon frequency might in fact be the highest one, above the lambda state. It is not. The Epsilon frequency, paradoxically enough, is actually the lowest one. It actually functions below the delta state. The typical Epsilon frequency is actually 1/2 cycle per second. Very slow. But there is something going on quite different in the Epsilon state, and that is this. If you examine very closely the vibrational frequencies of the Epsilon state, as we say, being about 1/2 cycle per second, or 1 cycle, if you wish, every 2 seconds, you will notice that there is a modulation frequency buried within it. The modulation frequency buried within the Epsilon state, strangely enough, is absolutely identical to the lambda state. 200 cycles per second, disguised within, buried within, a 1/2 cycle per second frequency. This creates a sympathetic and harmonic vibration with the lambda state. It completes the circle. You could say, in a sense, that the 200 cycle per second lambda state is riding on a carrier wave of the Epsilon state, that this slow undercurrent, this very low frequency vibration, carries with it all the information necessary to keep pumping the lambda state. It reinforces the lambda state with this low vibration, kind of like a heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, it pumps up the lambda state of 200 cycles per second. So you could say it's like the lambda state is riding the crests of the epsilon state, or the epsilon state, in a sense, is buried within the lambda state. It completes a circle, a cycle of one to the other, so that when you rely on the epsilon vibration, it creates a great deal of stability within you. It anchors you, it grounds you in a very powerful way, so that it makes it more possible for you to achieve the high-level frequencies of the higher hypergamma and lambda states. So it's a reinforcing harmonic that completes the cycle, going from highest to lowest to highest, and going through the spectrum of all of the frequency states in between. So it's not really a linear progression. It is a cyclic progression, going from lowest to highest, because each contains the other, implicit within the frequencies as an external or internal or differential modulation. Therefore, in understanding how to allow yourselves to access this epsilon frequency, it will actually help propel you and stabilize you in such a way as to make it easier for you to access the higher frequency gamma and lambda states as well, so that you can increase your ability and sensitize your senses to the possibility and the probability of seeing more interdimensionally and accessing the information that you need in life more automatically. Does this make some sense? Yeah. All right. Now, while it won't be in this transmission, in an upcoming transmission, as has been explained on my birthday, we will be sharing with you a particular permission slip tool called the Circle of Self-Empowerment. And it will demonstrate very specifically how to use this cycle of frequencies to ramp yourself up and yet remain very grounded and very stable in doing so. So we look forward to being able to share that particular tool, that particular permission slip with you at that time. And you will find, if you use it in the way that will be described as a permission slip, that it will connect into a collective consciousness awareness that is common to most of you, that will allow you to facilitate this permission slip in a very, very powerful way and amplify your ability to access what you need in life on a variety of levels. So we will deliver that in that transmission upcoming. But for now, just let this idea sink in so that it will automatically be prepared within your consciousness, so that it will alter your synapses, your brain paths in your neurological net, just by absorbing this information and understanding the relationship in this way. It will do its work, whether you are aware of it or not, through your unconscious mind and your subconscious mind, and will then leak into your conscious mind when we deliver the final piece of this information in the permission slip. That will be the circle of self-empowerment. So the time between now and absorbing this information and the time in which we will deliver the idea of that permission slip will be a processing time that will allow most of you to take advantage of the permission slip we will deliver, because you will have absorbed the necessary information that we have delivered tonight as a stabilizing frequency. Now, we have also talked about the fact that the three spheres around our planet, being Epsilon, being Eclipse, being Epiphany, that is delivering these different kinds of energies to our world, is also being reflected to your world off of your moon. Because your moon has a very specific set of cycles to it and relationships to your world, we have been able to actually help deliver that energy to your world to some degree, to make it accessible to all of you by using a very particular set of ratio frequencies from our artificial satellites to your satellite. And so therefore, any time that you relate to the idea of the moon, you will actually not only be receiving the polarized light from your sun that reflects off the moon and whatever other vibrations are relevant and commensurate and related to the idea of your moon, but you will also be receiving the Epsilon and eclipse and epiphany frequencies by us using your moon as a giant reflector for those particular vibrations. There will be more on this at another time. And when we also talk about the idea of the eclipse vibration in tomorrow's transmission, you will begin to see a picture of how each and every one of these ideas, each and every one of these vibrations builds upon the other and creates a very particular triad of energy that can aid and assist in the stabilization of civilizations for the beings within those civilizations who choose to align with those frequencies. A very, very powerful accelerator toward experiencing the parallel reality that you prefer. But we will get into more of that in tomorrow's transmission titled Eclipse, and then we will wrap it up with your Sunday transmission titled Epiphany. We thank you at this time for allowing us to share with all of you this particular idea and for your willingness to allow yourselves to let it soak in. In return for the gift you are giving us now, in what way may we be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and exchanges and dialogues if you wish.
Hi, Bashar.
And a you good day.
Okay, so, sorry, I'm a little nervous.
You are a little nervous?